The side objective, where one learns the real side of affairs. So, my wife and I were teenage sweethearts who went our separate ways and married other people. 10 years ago, through the magic of Facebook, we reconnected, flirted, met up, and you get the picture. I left my wife to reconnect with her. She left her husband as well, although it turned out he was already involved in an affair. 10 years have passed and we have 4 beautiful kids as well. We have gone through some rough patches, but nothing I think like this. So, let me start by saying she isn't fun, exciting, loving personality. Has always expressed great love for me. I, on the other hand, am somewhat the opposite. Reserved, I guess. She has always been so devoted, but almost borderline smothering and clingy as well, which would really be my only gripe. But she's beautiful, seriously, so I have to count myself lucky, I guess. For what it's worth, she was basically the only child of a successful ministry family. She put out a couple albums in the 90s. But yes, for the past 8 years it has been life stuck at the house raising kids while I went to work. Her previous marriage lasted 10 years. She once told me a fellow she worked with at her father's church invited her to meet him at a motel. According to her, she went there, they briefly hugged, he kissed her and she ran home and confessed to her husband. I believe that. I knew no other side of her. Now, I'll keep this short. A year and a half ago, January 2nd, 2016, she woke me up frantic. I was in a daze. She confessed she had been chatting with an ex-boyfriend on Facebook for a month. She said she felt bad and broke it off with him after Christmas. He went crazy and was threatening to come shoot her. He lived 5 hours away. She went on to say she sent him a revealing picture of her posing topless the prior week, but nothing else really serious. I was floored, thought maybe I was dreaming. Never, this can't be real. She also told me she was only chatting with him because I never showed her love or attention. I believed it. I had no plan for this. The next couple months I struggled bad. She really didn't want to discuss what happened without telling me about my mistakes years ago and how they drove her to this. We would yell and cry and talk. The truth, I guess, trickled over that time and she pointed out she confessed to it to me, so wasn't hiding anything. They started innocent texting, never talked about dirty stuff, talked some crap about me, and sent him a dirty pic, to which he simply said she was beautiful. I believed it. I didn't feel right though. She couldn't have been making plans to meet up with him, could she? I found a motel in his town. She denied it, saying she simply wanted to see where his town was at. It chose that particular spot. I believed her. He sent an email to our family account telling her the hotel reservations, a different one in a nearby big city, and plans were all BS, and she broke his heart and strung him along, using him. She explained he was a meth head and was just trying to stir up trouble. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. Let me tell you, our email box after that stayed clean, even deleted emails. Oh, but whatever, the topless pic she sent to him, she sent the same one to me the day I was released from the hospital fighting a very serious infection. I wonder who got the pic first. Fast forward 6 months, she's in a new band. I'm a silent basket case. A younger guy, late 20s, the guitarist, and her I find are texting each other like 30 to 60 times a day. I found that out by secretly looking at our bill online. So, I snuck her outside one night, and sure enough, much of their texting was deleted. I went crazy and left for a day and a half. She said nothing bad was said. He simply would compliment her beauty for her age in an effort to build up her self-esteem. She would not press him for the deleted text. He sent 1 or 2 screenshots of them out with the rest of the band texting each other basic stuff. When I wanted more, she said he had just gotten a new phone, so the other stuff was gone. I believed her. I made peace with them both and was sorry for almost breaking up the band. He has since left the band. She would never admit the number of texts were alarming. They were friends. I was stupid for reading too much into things. I kind of believed her. He seemed to be a good guy as well. Here's my issue. My gut is hurting me. She sleeps on top of her phone. She is on it constantly. I'm angry and kind of feel played. That's 3 times an IA has happened in 20 years, and of course she confirms this. She is still so loving and needy of me. I don't know what I'm trying to say, I guess. I think maybe I just wanted to believe her. She is extremely adept at acting, possibly. I have snuck out at night with her phone before several times. You just have to hope part of it is exposed to grab it. She doesn't text as much. It's more messenger stuff that can permanently be deleted. And there is no trace of really anything when I sneak a peek. I'm trying to deny the thought she's a pro at this, and it's just me being neurotic. The issue is, besides twice a week band practices, she really doesn't get out too much, and when she does, she wants me to go W her. Is that atypical? I did install a keylogger couple weeks ago. It's almost like she knew. Part of me still goes back to maybe this is all in my head. Before I go deeper, from my original post, does it seem like legit trouble up ahead? What about her past? I am not trying to be obstinate and dense, but I'm simply having a hard time picturing her having an outright pal with anyone besides what we had initially. Half of me says we are teenage sweethearts who have a special bond, and we have all the years we were not together. She has always been passionate about us throughout our marriage. Her desire is triple mine, so generally she always is the one after me. The other half says she may be the world's greatest actress who can compartmentalize. That half of me has been angry for a year and a half, silently waiting for the moment. The pic she sent the guy, she has always said it was just a 1-month Facebook fling and she simply liked his attention. He was an ex-boyfriend as well, so there was some prior history. I don't remember her making any trips that December. He lived 5 hours away and he had no vehicle. I did press her for more info a couple months ago about him and the local fellow. My mind was a wreck, and she did finally admit to briefly talking about positions and running off together and how bad she felt. And the band's guitarist she thinks liked her, but she didn't feel the same, so it was just friends texting and showing up to practice, chatting and hang out. Our little girls are 8, 6, and 4. Our son is 2. I understand karma and also sowing and reaping. I have never defended my actions, ever. I really could have even skipped that part of my opening post and made myself sound like a saint. But contextually I felt it was important to put that out there. I already know I'm a crappy individual. I didn't come here for that. I also didn't come here for comfort. I came for experienced insight. Bottom line, I'm tired of brooding and hurting. I've tried to be a PI but maybe not good enough. If she has been involved in more than what has been disclosed by her, that would I think be my line in the sand. I would love to show up to chat with the two fellows and get their story, but Mr. Long Distance said he deleted everything from his Facebook and the local guy just kind of faded away. I live with secret anger and disdain towards her. I feel very conflicted. I almost want to let her slip up again so I can stick it to her. Seriously, but I know that's the pain talking. I have never demanded access to her stuff. She's an adult I refuse to babysit. If there is something, I just want to find it and get off the roller coaster. For some reason, serial cheater calms my nerves concerning her. My issue though is still, was there ever a pa? I don't feel like another month of this mess. I can forgive an E if I know we are all cleaned up and walking forward. But a possible Pia haunts me, if that makes any sense. There is no evidence of any illicit physical affairs in our marriage or her previous one. Would she have admitted that to me, her husband? I would like to think so. I sound foolish and weak, but I would like to think the mother of our 4 little precious kids could ain't do that. Play out a fantasy online. Okay, it hurts, but okay. Let a young musician crush on you. Crappy, but it happened. A polygraph. Man, if she was clean with then. You have no idea the gut-wrenching feeling I have when I open up a post on here because I think some of this counsel is right. See the writing on the wall. I apparently am wearing rose-colored glasses and not objectively looking at my marital relationship. From an outside perspective, which is why I created an account, I have 3 verified emotional affairs. The first, previous marriage. Second, 1-month Facebook fling with street loser ex-boyfriend. December and loads of family at our house. I even spent a solid week getting treated for a severe infection at hospital. The motel and hotel things bug me bad, more than the topless pic. He was hours away, no car. He was mad when she broke it off. Third, the younger guitar player, bandmate, 40 or so texts a day. Much deleted, so I wouldn't be alarmed at the amount if I looked at her phone. She morphed into something different at this point. This country singer, from the second to the third year that is, never would admit much was wrong with her texting actions. Even when they were at the same function, just different places, they would text, until I almost forced her to. She remains a beautiful country singer, but whatever. He slowly disappeared and left the band a couple months later, but still lives semi-close. Tell me, if you have ever been in my shoes, could you point at any of those with certainty and say, yeah, Pia at some point? So today, I went home and had a very hard time wanting to even look at my wife. She wanted us to go to the grocery store together, married day date, to which I reluctantly agreed to. I was annoyed by all that was swirling around in my head and just wanted space to think. I was moody and short the remainder of the evening, but could not help it. Finally, a small tipping point, and we were sitting outside going through my thoughts. I did not reveal her current actions as alarming. I didn't even bring them up, lest she bury things further. Instead, I focused on what we all discussed yesterday, of course, minus mentioning you all. 2 months ago, I started going to a counselor for answers. What I've learned is that yes, of course, I want nothing but to have joy and peace and rest in the presence of my wife. But I can't because things were left so undone and frayed a year and a half ago. My wife always said we needed couple counseling, but she never followed through. Hell, she never even went herself. I've also been doing quite a lot of reading lately on the nature of emotional and physical affairs and the like. I had more info last night and felt more confident. I told her I still struggled with her lies and deception. I still struggled with knowing only a tip of the iceberg. She of course brought up my failings for 10 years of marriage, no infidelity, and how she was able to forgive and love and move on even though it still bothered her. She stared and listened and interjected as I tried to explain the best way. I knew how that she still was holding on to all these secrets, but she never offered any new truths. I told her, I thought there were probably more than just the 3 emotional affairs because she handled our 2 like a pro. I wondered if things ever got physical. Of course not. Big and dramatic. And I'm stupid for thinking that. She revealed yesterday she was ready to take the kids up to her mom's for a few days, 9 hours away, because she was tired of me being up and down. I didn't show it, but that was a little shocking out of nowhere. I have been a little brooding the past couple weeks as I've tried to work through this, but yeah, we left it at that. Today I decided to objectively look at all the evidence I have been presented by my wife over the past year and a half, without emotion or bias. One by one I listed the main talking points and then jotted down from an outside perspective what a stranger would probably think. It was crazy to see things from that direction. A couple things snapped into place, but one horrifying thought came out of nowhere and made me nauseated. Her initial emotional affair, she said, was only for the month of December 2015. Well, it took her then only 3 weeks to send him 2 very seductive nude pictures. As I thought about that, I came to one of 2 answers. Either she had a hell-bent agenda to screw this guy up in the name of meeting her own fantasies, or she had been there physically, been to my town, found a way, because apparently he had no vehicle. And this would have been probably prior to December. I guess who the hell really knows. And the picture, like someone said in a previous post, was simply meant to tide him over until their next hookup. That is a sickening thought. I feel it is probably from the pit of hell, which happens to be my imagination. God help me. In a nutshell, I began really pressing her about the inconsistencies and gaps in her stories, and how I know she lied, deceived, and only ever told me enough to placate me. I asked her if she had PAS. Of course not, she said. Seriously, I have never seen that sweet little girl that mad before, slamming her hands down on the table, veins in her neck popping out, yelling and crying how unfair this was and how upset I was making her, and how for 10 years I never gave her much attention, etc. I remained calm, almost smug, because I knew the script now. I knew what was coming, but she didn't know what was coming. I asked her if she was still screwing around on her phone. Of course not. Then, my moment of clarity came. I told her to prove it to me. I have a program on my PC that will retrieve even deleted text and messages. Let's go hook your phone up. She stared at me for 10 seconds like a deer about to get run over. She quickly changed the subject. I told her I was leaving for the night. She was full of it. She said, "That's okay, I will move the kids back up to Missouri tomorrow by the time you're off work, and I hope you have fun with visitation and child support." As I went inside to collect some crap, she followed me around like my shadow. I looked at her again and told her to hook up her phone to prove it to me. Another long stare. And she said she didn't want to hook her phone up to some dumb computer. So, sleeping at my parents' tonight, and I'm 41 years old. Oh well, that truth I learned tonight, both cuts and heels, if that makes sense. Maybe I'm not crazy after all. She's gone, left with the kids to her mom's. Get it, while I was at work without texting me a single thing. This hurts. Deep down I really want to believe her and myself can fix this mess. My ex-wife was treated extremely unfairly by myself. My current wife indirectly contacted me via Facebook, and that's all it took. I had never done anything like what I was about to do. I moved heaven and earth to secretly meet her 6 hours away. We were physical our first meeting. From there on, secret chats, occasional work-related trips, for about 3 months, and then I told my wife because she was seemingly clueless. I've never hurt someone so bad in my life, and the experience scarred me. My current wife I have been faithful to regardless of how our relationship started. I surmised initially we were physical our first meeting because of all the years we had been separated but thought of each other. Sappy, I know. If it's worth anything, I was the one pushing the envelope our first meeting as well physically, to which she obviously obliged. In my damaged thinking, I want to believe she got physical only with me, because it was me, her soulmate. I feel stupid for even throwing that out there, but I've got to be honest with you all. As far as the attorney, I called and I will have a consultation early next week. My wife is still out of town at her mom's, I know because I have found a friend. She did initially for the first day, night stop off at her best friend's house, married woman, with the kids, I'm sure for support. She started the sappy "I love you, I miss you, this kids miss you" text yesterday, but I stayed distant and somewhat harsh towards her. One peculiar thing, she disabled her Find My iPhone app on her phone before she left. I've often on check up on her location, as I previously stated, and I guess she doesn't know I use the other app, but I haven't seen anything weird. My damaged thinking, "I need help," finally answered her call. I told her separation was definitely in the works because I knew she would never come clean and be 100% truthful with me. Of course, she was upset and sad and crying and told me she would tell me everything and said she would even take a lie detector test if that's what it took. I never even brought that up. I asked her point blank if she had ever gotten physical, and she said yes, she performed X on the guitar dude last October after everything blew up in July. After a band practice they all went to Buffalo Wild Wings, everyone left except for them. He invited her to jump in his truck, they drove around parked, and you know the rest of the story. She swears nothing else happened. She said she would take a lie detector test to prove that to me. Of course, that dude is no longer with the band but still lives about 30 minutes away. She swears nothing else physical ever happened in my marriage or her previous marriage. She knows I'm thinking about divorce and talking with an attorney. I feel like I've just been hit by a truck, want to believe her but just don't know how much more there is to the story. She is blowing up my phone, texting how horrible she is, but still holding firm to nothing more happened. I don't know what to believe. I take it some cheaters never admit to everything. I have her really scared right now, and she should be, but she's not budging from that story. She just admitted to actually sleeping with that guy from her previous marriage at the hotel. I'm still waiting on her for more trickle truth. Just admitted to texting the guitarist just a few days ago. She was in his hometown in a vocal competition that talked about meeting up afterwards, but she says that why she invited me, so she could say no. I didn't go, but she says she hightailed it out of there and came right home. Something in me needs to hear her confess to more. I don't think it will change a damn thing, but I want her to break and spill it all out tonight. About a month ago when I really felt something in the air, that is when I found this site, and every day something sucked me in because something was ringing true, I just couldn't put my finger on it. I finally answered her call last night. Her being 2 states away, my keylogger and doctor phone are pointless. I didn't think about recording the convo. In a nutshell, actually it was an hour and a half. She will not with everything that is in her admit to any more than the story I have. Obviously, the majority of the talk was her crying and telling me how sorry she was, doesn't want to break up our little family, etc. I told her I am going to continue on with the consultation at the attorney's next week because things still are not adding up and I need to evaluate my options. She's going to counseling today and wants us to go as well, and of course she will do what it takes for the rest of her life to make things right. She just wants to come home. I told her I don't understand how you can go from giving a guy a good time last October to hardly any contact. She said she didn't see him once after, but then all of a sudden start texting and talking about hooking up this last weekend. Do I just want to believe there is more in my anger? That story though, I sent her pic I found of her and Guitar Boy's performance a few weeks later. It was his last performance with the band. They took such a sweet picture together. She was using her real smile. They looked happy. FYI, I was there and at the previous Halloween show. Clueless. She gave me his number. I texted him last night. No answer. I want to see his side of the story. She said she has not spoken with him. I'm going to tell him I will be letting his wife know if I don't hear from him. I told her what hurts as much as anything is how she watched me struggle with depression and lunacy for a year and kept her stuff hidden. I was the issue, not her. My next step is to get a thorough timeline from her. She is on her way to counseling right now. She has brought up a lie detector test very often. Either she's legit or she's throwing BS. Just texted Guitar Boy a few minutes ago. He stated nothing has ever happened at all. He's a husband and father as well. I told him if I get solid proof of the contrary, it's going to blow up over there. I feel he didn't want to say anything because maybe he didn't know her story or simply just protecting himself and family. I'm going to go watch Baby Driver again to get my mind off things for a while and cool down. So, while I'm waiting on part 2, what I have so far is a more elaborate explanation of Guitar Boy this past year. Nutshell began innocent and then worked just like the script said. They began talking about crappy spouses, crappy bonding life, etc. Initially it was one good time in October. It morphed into 2 of those, of course quick ones, plenty of dirty pics. He would shoot her an Instagram text, say he wanted a pic of her so he could Jesus. They met up before practice a couple times and walked around stores. She said anytime he would text her, she said she was ready. Of course, she felt used, etc. He would go weeks without touching base. Last week she promised was the first time in 6 months they've done anything. All he had to do was ask for a pic. They jacked off on the phone. We're going to meet up this last weekend, but she got scared. I want to X the guy, but it takes 2 to tango. Got part 1 of her timeline. We'll be getting part 2 after a while. We'll get the details here and hope for objective opinion and thoughts. More of the same from the second part. Info on the ex-boyfriend, what was said over Facebook. She said she would basically tell him things like I love you and text and fantasize about going to visit because she craved the attention. She never met up with him. She gave more detail about Guitar Boy as well, nasty phone time, but once again, swore on her father's grave intercourse never happened. I told her this was her one chance at me even thinking about I told her I was still leaning towards divorce and was still going to go through with the consultation. She knows I think she did more. It seems like if she did, she would admit it. She gave some pretty heart-churning details on the other stuff. She's told me if there were more, I would put it on there. I'm not going to make things up that aren't true just because that's what you want to believe. This is not fair. I've told you everything. Someone asked how I feel. Lost. Hurt beyond words. Disbelief. Rage. Haunting mind images. Looking back at photos thinking everything was tainted. Never would you think something had ever happened just by looking at all the sweet pics we took. I so bad just want to believe that is the end of it all. Yeah, I'm sick and angry, but there's hope for us and our little family. My son turns 3 this month. I don't cry, but that last sentence just made me bawl like a baby all over my keyboard. She has already told me to poly her. She doesn't care because she's telling me every painful thing. Here is the crazy thing. Something in me is crying out to believe you. But as I have listened to her and read her timeline, I'm caught between 2 worlds. Her timeline is actually quite detailed, somewhat painfully so. If she would put the dirty pics and texting, does she have anything to lose by putting they banged? That's an honest question from someone who is still shell-shocked. Something struck me as weird yesterday. I have access to her Facebook account. She may or may not know this, but after I texted the OM that I knew stuff, he immediately apparently went to his wife and, yep, made me look like a lunatic, just like last year. So, she messaged my wife, and my wife assured her they had not slept together and that she never told me such either. Well, his wife was satisfied with that. My wife apologized, and that was it. So, I asked my wife about it. Why didn't she come clean? Answer was because she wanted to spare his wife's heart. I thought for a while, maybe it's me and I've been reading these boards far too long. But maybe she wanted to keep it a secret if possible, without overtly looking like it. And one more thing. Day 1 revealed the details, one time in his truck. Day 2 timeline revealed twice and all the smut in between that took place. My feeling is she would have possibly left it at day 1 had I not pushed for a timeline. She even said she didn't think I wanted all the horrible details. Guys, what now? I'm too close to this to be objective. Just sent OM's wife my wife timeline. I had no way to reach her, so I thought I would throw out a feeler to my wife to see what she thought. You know, she was fine, at least over text. She even told me I was welcome to use her Facebook Messenger account. So, I did. FYI, she is still 10 hours away in Missouri, not here me at the house. Whether we are or I need all of the truth. With the nature of her horrible deception for over a year, even if what I have is 100% truth, true to me almost seems impossible. I am determined to poly her when she gets back into town. I am not bringing it up nor will I again, so she thinks that possible bluff of hers won. She also will be certain I am following through with the divorce consultation and options. Timeline update. Did not communicate her yesterday at all. She has this thing about her right now. Send me pics of the kids, text me she loves me and how she has hope, etc. She is doing that because it's worked in the past on me. So, this morning I sent her a very sterile email. I no longer care that you are withholding truth and sounding like the victim of Guitar Man in your timeline. You had your one opportunity. I am now officially saying divorce will happen. Pick a day to come down and get your crap. Of course, the tear-stained text began to flood in about how her timeline was 100% legit because she figured I was going to try and polygraph. She gave me what I asked for, holding out hope. Okay, nothing more I can do. I will come down this week, get my stuff and discuss financials, etc. But still, of course, she has hope. And therein lies my fear. I don't think I will ever believe her story thus far. Objectively, she is evil. But on the other hand, I've been in the fog before myself, surrounded by my love and life, and none of that even registered, just the affair fix. Her doings I feel are on another level though. Perfect world. I'm about to be crucified here, I know, but I follow through with the divorce. We stay separated. She comes totally clean and it is verified. She spends huge amounts of time in therapy getting to the root. Then, only then, we work on us together. She is pushing MC hard. She is pushing fixing herself hard. She is pushing one more chance hard. Those are the actions as of late. I told her she could have a couple weeks in the house, of course I'm elsewhere, to collect all their stuff and figure out arrangements. Possible scenario. Tries to use kids to manipulate me or recontact Guitar Hero. My full intent is to file for D. She's already went to a therapy session yesterday. She's going to do backflips, I know. I will stay the course. There is way more than enough for divorce, but she is sticking by her guns on the timeline, and that bothers me. You got me turned around backwards now as well. The actual OMP at a hotel was in her previous marriage with her sound guy, OM1. That's the one she always told me she met him there to tell him she could never go through with whatever. He kissed her and she ran all the way home confessing. It was a full-on P as she revealed. She then in our marriage had the street guy, OM2, all wrapped up in an E of the fantasy was a hotel. It looked like there was even a reservation. I don't know. I should have looked closer when I came across the email. She explained he was just trying to stir up trouble out of spite. Also, during this EA, the map-quested Super 8 in his hometown was part of a fantasy. Actually, in her timeline, she revealed Guitar Boy, OM3, and her flirted around with going to one of the local casino hotels because he got free rooms there. All three of these stories I learned about 2 days ago. I am following through with the divorce, regardless of if I get anything more or not. With the facts at hand, there is no reversing that kind of damage, when I must have a few drinks to just relax enough so that when I close my eyes my imagination doesn't sink me. Things are really wrong. It's therapeutic typing things out to you, so feel free to skim. Do you know I confronted her exactly a year ago about texts she was deleting to this guy? I will never forget the feeling of it being 2v1, me of course being the one. They cooled for a couple weeks, discovered Instagram 5 seconds videos or something that auto-delete, and that's when things really started to get filthy. She would send him numerous dirty pics and he would send her videos of him pleasuring himself to her pics. That's what she told him she liked early on. That set the table for her, 2 excursions in his truck. The evil is also seen in her watching me for the next full year struggle silently in the face of gaslighting, table turning, blame shifting. I almost lost my very nice paying job because I couldn't focus. And then, NC really for 8 months, he sends her maybe 3 texts, and boom, they're right back at it, talking about hooking up 2 weekends ago. The facts I have now are vile and as stated, D will happen. But I'm the type regardless, I still want all the truth. I will go to NC for the next 2 days as you said. I threw my phone and it no longer works anyways. But whatever, the OM's wife saw the file. I sent it through my wife's Facebook Messenger account, but I've not heard anything. I have no way of getting a hold of her. Her side of the story, 2.5 months, only did it twice. He would feel bad and ignore her for a couple weeks. Hit her up again at practice, repeat, only twice. And, both times they were in parking lots at night in his truck and she was nervous as hell, she said. Because she said first time 5 minutes or so, second time 2 minutes. I'm supposed to believe she hopped out as soon as he did his thing. That's her Pia story, and I'm having a hard time buying it. I've already stated in the grand cosmic scheme of things, it doesn't matter the amount. The end result will be the same. My mind though has always had to have the details. I'm beginning to realize though, those may never come. It is what it is. Update, Operation Limbo. She has been back in town for 2 days. The kids. I let her have the house so my kids could enjoy a little normality and stability. Wednesday I met with the attorney. 2 options, no fault is 1 year. With fault much quicker and requires proof. Much more expensive as well. And the thought of the OM being subpoenaed and questioned I love. I could maybe fill in more blanks. I've been staying at my brother's place. Really hard kids here and the emotion between my WW and myself. Still bothered by the fact she has stood her ground on timeline. I can't drop that even as I move forward with things. Possibly. She sent it to me in email format which he said could be an issue. I do have email though saved and tucked away. My wife and I have met twice since she has been back. She knows my plans, although the state of LA makes it supremely difficult. She has in no way changed or revised her timeline. I am not weak, but I am seeing true remorse in her. I sat with her in view of preparing for a polygraph and dug deeper into her story. A few finer details but nothing changed. She's supremely frustrated because she says I'm wanting to hear what really never happened and I'm beginning to believe her. She knows the evidence at hand though, that's an easy D. She's taken it on herself to go ask my different family members for forgiveness. She still struggles. I hear W taking all the blame. He didn't really always provide X or whatever, so either she was sincere or doing some damage control. I told her not to have false hope because she's so hopeful we can work things out and understands it would take a long time. I told her that is more than I'm prepared to bear. I just need a fresh start in life. The only glimmer I have given her is that if she passes a poly, if I go that route, I will then maybe consider working towards something, but only after she seriously focused on herself first. I go back and forth on that though. Break it off permanently or break away and watch her actions and gauge truthfulness. My comment, you also need to move back into your house. She can sleep in a guest room, sofa, garage. You've been told this before and after you left the house. If you want to be in a position of being in the driver's seat, running away to sleep elsewhere isn't the way to do it. Part 2 will come tomorrow. This is an important one because the later update will provide confession from the wife's side in this one. Subscribe to see Part 2 ASAP.